Oh, good morning, everyone. Um, Looks like I'm here on my own. Hopefully not for long. Um, I was going to do a poetry live stream, but and we still can. But I also thought that perhaps we could just do it just chatting, and that way if anybody wants to jump in with me, there are no obstacles to that because I don't like being by myself here. Not one little bit. Putting a link in here. And hey, good morning. Oh, William, yes, embody on Saturday mornings. I can imagine for those people who are going to a daily 9 to 5, Saturdays are like the best day for just, doing the embody thing. It probably feels pretty good. I don't even know where to start. I could read a little bit of poetry to pass the time, let some people jump in, maybe get their gumption up. I'm really great to talk to. Like, I don't bite. Yes, I have a kitty. Do you want to see my kitty? This is my kitty. This is my kitty. This is little Celestial Kitty. I called her this because of Bunyan. What was the guy's name? John Bunyan. He wrote about the celestial city, and so I thought I should have a celestial kitty. That's her name. Do you want to go out? She's old now. I think she's going to be 13 this year, but she's just a teeny tiny little girl, so she acts like a baby still. All right. I'm going to look up some poetry that a friend sent me. John Bunyan had bad feet. Yes. I guess the name had to come from somewhere. A friend sent me some poetry, and I just got to scroll a little bit here. Sorry for the delay, but I would like to read his poems. Whoops. And here's one. I'll just put that there, and there's the other one. Okay. And I would also like to let people know that I follow a Substack called Bog Down and Aster, spelt just the way it sounds. And if anybody loves poetry, it's a great place to find really great poetry. Andrew is an amazing poet. And I haven't asked him if I could read some of his poetry, but he's made it public on Substack, so I think I might. And then also Nathan Woods from this little corner has a Substack called The Silver Door, in which he features his poetry, the poetry of a friend. I can't remember his name now. I think it's J.Z. Schaefer, something like that. And they've also kind of put a shout out to other poets to contribute. I don't think they're doing a poetry contest per se, but they're doing something to incentivize people to send them their poetry. So, yeah, there's 2 recommendations: The Silver Door on Substack and Bog Down and Aster on Substack. And these two poems that I'm going to read are from my dearest friend, Luke Johnston. And they got published in a little magazine. I think it's, what's it called? It's called Topology Magazine. Artful Dispatches from the Places Where We Find Ourselves. And when I first got in touch with Luke, or he got in touch with me, it was a long time ago on the Bridges of Meaning Discord server. And he sent me this poem at one point, and I just was like blown away by it. It's so great. So it's called Blueberry Bruce. And like I said earlier, please join me because this will be a very short stream if nobody does. All right. Blueberry Bruce. Planted a sandy pile far back past the swing set in full sun over top, that dead dog buried there. And as worms ribbon in the bones of my good friend, I see him leaping from the grave full of flavor. Those throbbing red drupelets, shimmering in the breeze like loyal palpitations and love from the other side. And every small seed slurps the juice of creatures smashed down into souls all mixed up and siphoned out pure. And this is Pup Pup Bruce, in the holy loam still fetching to bark it hard in the pop of good fruit. Who knew full eulogies were inside of blueberries? And I think a few times I've referred to Luke's blueberry poem when we were in conversation about other things. Because to me, this is like the incarnational poetic relations aspect of poetry, just so well illustrated in that poem. And this is another one. It's called Skamanie Season. And I'm not a fisherman, but Luke is. And a Skamanie is some kind of, now let me think. He's going to correct me in the comments because I'm going to get it wrong. I think it's a trout, but I'm not sure. And there's a season, I suppose, to catch them. Sandpipers pluck the eyes of junk shad twitching in mesh nets strewn over the quay or the kai or the key. Terrible with that word. Let me go again. Sandpipers pluck the eyes of junk shad twitching in mesh nets strewn over the quay as big blue men string poles along the waters where they always do. It's all puffs and yaks before a school sweeps the ledge. Popping rods, howls fly all the way down. But the perch stay deep, and the dredger never sleeps. The alewives are few, and this mortar should undo, as I've yet to see the martin who sneaks from the crete to eat and dance in the breach beneath our feet. Several summer scams peel the surface in full silver, sending the pier men to merge on a mess of twisted lines and two fools throwing fists over one missing fish. The Ojibwa called her Ojig 1,000 years ago, and she's the tiny fisher these men may never know. Damn, Luke is really good. Wish he would do more or share more. These are the only two of his poems that I know of. And I'm sure he's got a few more up his sleeve. All right, and I'm going to read a couple of Andrew's poems. I hope he doesn't mind. Please forgive me, Andrew, if you see this. All righty. He wrote one, the last Substack that he wrote one that was just like amazing. Okay. It's called Polyphony, or yeah, I think that's how you say it, Polyphony. And Andrew is just such a wordsmith. Many times when I read his poetry, I have to I have to look up the meanings of some of the words he uses. And when I do, it just opens a whole new understanding of what he's trying to say, or what he's saying, or what he doesn't know he's saying. All right. Polyphony. Recite the name of the one you name in the many you name over the water glass as your fingers sing along the rim. That still, wet trail that circles the sea where the line unspools, weighted by word, both bread and barb. Down into the mouth that takes in the river, that the tip of the spear bound to the place you stand, when the place you stand is the way you wish home. Contour the cusp of each syllable as glass calls back through fire to sand, while dust stirs in clay and clay rings in rib and rib and rib, until all come to tree on the wet breath of night. Divine hoof from toe as you trace the curve of what once was presence, in each print pressed into the wet earth of these tales. We who walk where, beneath our stride, the water and blood whisper together of a God who died but never left, of a company calling backwards down the clades against each nail-struck cry, to an attendance of Siddur, birthed in a sheltering olive dusk by a love for here, still sworn in the heel kiss of every step, once wished, once willed, to never be taken. And to this call some come, those with nowhere else, all here, still wet with God gone, animal, the wash of scent and tide, the weep of vein and ventricle, now drawn up into stem and plume, a blur of meristem and nails oblation. Remember worlds from spit and lash and sibilance, the patch, the stitched, the palimpsest as half-lit script, a slipping silver thing seed out beyond all grip, on the tear-tongued morph of a voweling from a heart on all fours, ear to the grail, and all who abides there against the want of those wishing to pin a telltale Messiah to the immutable monody of Ur. Whew, you know, stuff like that. It's one of those things that you just got to let it sink in and do its work. Good morning, KL. You could smile. Let's do it. Just do it in spite of. You got to say, I'm going to smile, damn it. All right. Well, I'm already feeling very lonely here, but I'm just going to keep on going just in case. I'm going to read the next excerpt from The Dark Interval by Rainer Maria Rilke. Oh, thank God. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't hear you because my speakers aren't on. There we go. Hi.
Hi, just saying hello.
Yes, nice. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me. I feel so much better when somebody else is here.
Well, I was waiting for your poetry. I didn't want to interrupt.
No worries. Yeah, I was just trying to fill up some time, actually. And I love poetry. So.
Yeah. So just a quick hello until my son wakes up. He might pop in at any moment.
Okay.
But he's still asleep, so that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I got such a kick out of you sent me a message that not very often do you hear somebody say, I'm cleaning out the sheep barn today. So what is that about?
Cleaning out my sheep barn?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of shoveling and loading up wheelbarrows and driving them to a huge compost pile and dumping them out and then going back and getting more. And it's like never ending. It's kind of like sweeping a beach. Totally is.
And the sheep are just looking at you and kind of like, oh.
Well, no, actually, I let them out. So,
Okay.
yeah, they were all, they're striking at the moment. They've got lots of hay and they could eat it, but they're just, the green grass is out there. It's just not long enough for them. And they're just looking at me like, we're not doing this anymore, just so you know. So I've let them out into an area that I don't mind if it gets eaten down a bit. And they're doing that. Well, I'm cleaning the barn. But when I do go in and clean, like I every day I rake it and they're in there, even in the winter. And they just all move to one side and let me work. Wait till I'm done.
They know the deal.
They do. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good. I've got a couple of wethers, which are males that are castrated, and they like only 3 of my sheep. I only bought 3 sheep, 3 ewes, and the rest I were birthed here. So they're all kind of, born and raised here, including those 2 guys. And they'll move in really close to where I'm working, and because they want affection, they want attention, and they want me to pet them. And if I'm in a hurry and I want to get the work done, I can't touch them, because if I do that, then I'm hooped. They just won't get out of my way until, and they'll actually be satisfied by me just slightly bumping them as I'm working with the rake, because that's a touch that they crave, right? So but it's just for me working, it's just they're in my way. So yeah, they're really cute. Galahad and Buster are the 2 that always come forward. Especially Galahad.
It's such a cuddly problem to have.
Yeah, it is. And, I've had many, many different farm animals, and mostly I had goats for years. But the sheep, man, when they look at you, they look straight into your soul. Like they literally meld into your eyes. Like I've never, it was kind of uncanny in the beginning. I thought, this is so weird. Like, what is happening here? Good morning, Noah.
It's not a helpless thing. It's like
No, it's love. It's total love. And, of course, like I never had sheep. I've only had sheep for like 6 or 7 years now. I can't remember exactly how long. Before that, I had goats. And goats they're affectionate too, but only for a while. And then they're off to do their own thing, The sheep are, man, I don't know. There's something really mystical about the way they look at you.
Maybe it's like a dog and cat thing. The goats and the sheep.
I don't know. Oh, there you go. There he is, wide awake.
I wake up so.
Yeah, he wakes up so happy.
Yes, I love it.
Daddy, I just waked up.
Beautiful. I'll be right back, okay?
After mommy and daddy.
Okay, I'll be right there.
What a joy. I love that. Hi, honey.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You can't hear me.
No. Well, yeah. I can't get into anything, obviously, but I just.
No.
Oh, I want to say, if I don't get the chance, I want to say that you've been kind of a mentor to me, and I think I've been listening for 2 or 3 years now. I don't even know. So I would say even a spiritual mother.
Wow.
So I just want to say that in case I don't, whatever, something happens in the weekend, we don't get in contact.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I really appreciate all the all the stories and the chats.
Thank you.
And yeah, maybe we can dig into Lilith at some
Yeah, I'm
point.
looking
yeah.
forward to that, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
All right. Well, you have a great day with your little guy,
Thank
your little
you.
happy guy. He's just going to bring
Yeah.
more sunshine into your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here he comes.
Blinding sunshine.
There he comes, right behind you. Hello.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I'll
Thanks for
see ya.
joining me. Bye,
Yes.
John.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Noah. Come on. I know you could do it. I hope. Hope you're not working. All right, I'm going to continue on with this little bit of Rilke. And hopefully we get some more people in here. Oh, thank goodness. I'm always so happy. I'm always so happy when someone jumps in. Like, thank God. Hi, Noah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just kind of
I labeled
Saturday
good.
morning.
Yeah. How could you not be well on a Saturday morning, right?
I know. Good sleep and yeah.
Saturday morning's like going back in time and being a little kid when you wake up and you're like, woo, I got the whole day to myself. You know?
Yeah. At least today
Yeah.
is. Yeah. There's some days where you've got a whole day planned. So that's
Mhm.
I'm glad to have a Saturday like today.
Yeah, that's good. When we first got married and we were living in Switzerland, we were building our home and I mean not building it literally, but like making a home, you know.
Mhm.
And we used to go almost every Saturday flea marketing. But in Switzerland, it's like when the richest people in the world get rid of the stuff that they don't want anymore. It's like, whoa, you know. So yeah, we had every Saturday was like treasure hunting day. It was so exciting. I loved it. Every day, every Saturday. Or we went hiking in the mountains in Switzerland. So I mean, what can I say?
Sounds amazing.
It was.
I used to live in an area that had a lot of very well off people living there, and once a year they would have a giant like garage sale, and so they would take over the middle school and they would just fill the entire school with all their stuff, and they would have this like big rotary auction thing. And so there was a lot of stuff there that was just like people would like donate boats and like
what?
It was crazy.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Treasure hunting. It's great. It's like talk about embody, right? That's what we're always doing anyway. Yeah. So, did you have any poetry this morning?
I do. I haven't written much in the last 2 weeks, but I have some, so I can share that.
Cool.
Let's find something. I always have trouble remembering what I share and what I haven't shared.
Yeah, that's okay.
So
I'm sure not everybody remembers either. So if you do it twice, maybe it'll just stick better. Just go with the flow, Noah.
I'll do it. Here's one. In ancient days, yes, even then, rivers of cold, fresh water flowed. He had seen the trees gather around him, the fauna given birth at his feet, all the time providing water, earth, and life. He saw the first fires, his heart broken at the wanton destruction. Through the ashes he understood, all the time serving those at his feet. A strange creature arrived. Yet they had something he earned: union and fellowship and wisdom. He watched carefully their huts and children. Eldest among them were some who could see him as he was. They would approach his face and invite him into communion. It rained for a week, and he loved the men. That was how the mountain became a man.
I haven't heard that one yet. I have a really good memory. So
I went
That
into
was
the ones
new.
where I was like, okay, I think I wasn't able to share last week, so almost like, okay, did the math in my
Yeah.
head to find out which day I wrote.
yeah. I'm a complete loser in the poetry month, a poem a day thing challenge. But I did try a few. And I may or may not go back and try to do a few more. But I went on a website that gave you several different Slack. He's been like pumping them out, but I don't know. Slack, are you doing AI poetry? Because I'm just wondering. Yeah. Anyway, I went to this website that had all these different forms of poetry, and I tried to do them. The ones that didn't seem as difficult. Well, yeah, he's a hidden poet. Actually, he's been doing some fun ones. So this one is I don't know how you say it, cinquain, a 5-line poem consisting of 22 syllables. Okay.
Oh, okay.
These are fun to do because they really push your creativity. Although I didn't really put a whole lot of effort into mine, just saying. But anyway, here's the thing: 2 in the first line, 2 syllables in the first line, 4, then 6, then 8, and then 2 syllables again in the last line.
Okay.
All right. So I wrote, and it was the prompt was kind of make a collage of whatever's around you of words, right? So I wrote basket with wool, consuming fire with Percy Bysshe Shelley, Shelley, the unrepentant one, on top.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun. And okay, I'll do this one too. Write a poem about a piece of clothing that reflects something important or essential about who you are as a person. I should have thrown them out long ago, both full of holes, not great in a rainstorm, these rubber boots. But they're so easy to slip on and off. The holes make them bigger, these rubber boots. They only saw one winter as a whole. I make them work for one more. I know they can do it, these rubber boots. Yeah. And then I tried another form. And this one, I don't know what it's called, but when I was on the Bridges of Meaning writer server, Aaron put this in as a prompt. And how do I describe what you're supposed to do here? Okay, so it's A, B, A, B, A, B. That's the rhyming scheme. But the first line is repeated in the fourth line. And how many lines are there? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. Okay, there's 8 lines. The first line is repeated in the fourth line and repeated in the 7th line. Okay. And the rhyming scheme is such that the first line has to rhyme with the third line, and the fourth line rhymes with the first and the third. And, like it's kind of, but once you get the hang of it, it kind of just starts to come out of, like, at least for me, it just started coming out. Like, it's like a little song, like a melody or something. So I'll read you a couple. The first one I wrote was years ago from that prompt that Aaron put in the Bridges of Meaning. His little hand was clenched so tight, I wondered what he held therein. 'Twas his to hold, try as I might. His little hand was clenched so tight. My heart he held in dark of night, my anguished soul and all my sin. His little hand was clenched so tight, I wondered what he held therein. It was an image of a baby, eh? Like, you know how their hands are tightly clenched. And then the newest one that I wrote in that same vein for this writing prompt. Within my heart, I felt it fly. The bitterness once tasted sweet. A prayer, a tear, a mournful sigh. Within my heart, I felt it fly. Eyes fixed on clouds and blue of sky, I'm planted in the fields of green. Within my heart, I felt it fly. The bitterness once tasted sweet.
It's a great pattern.
It's an awesome pattern. Like, it's because it only has one, like, there's, you've got the word fly, and then you rhyme fly, right? Fly, sigh, sky. And then you repeat, within my heart, I felt it fly. The bitterness once tasted sweet. You put those back at the end. And the first line you stick in the middle. I wish I knew it was called. And then you've got one line that doesn't rhyme with anything. I'm planted in the fields of green, right? And it just kind of like booms out. It's like, yeah, it's really great. I love it. And I find when I try it, it really, I feel like I just fall into this really creative little zone, It demands from you, eh? Like, it really does. Yeah.
Well, and when you have a pattern in front of you, it makes it focuses a lot. You're able to focus more on more of the other parts of the poem. It also makes freedom.
Right. And it also makes you ask what you're trying to say. Like, that first line, within my heart, I felt it fly. The bitterness once tasted sweet. I had something else there. I can't remember what. But when I repeated it in at the end, it didn't make any sense. I had to change it completely. Even though it was still saying the same thing, it has to conclude, like, it's an opening statement and a closing statement at the same time, right? So you can't just have an opening statement and then conclude something totally different at the bottom. They have to match, and all the body inside. It's only a few lines, but it's really challenging in that sense,
There's well, Norm Macdonald used to talk about the perfect joke is one where the punchline is the same as the setup. That's the same line.
Yeah, that
be able to have the revelation in the process of the telling of the joke or the way you say it. And,
that's a similar pattern to this poem, actually. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if he has examples of that. He probably does.
He
just never knows.
There's one that's because I don't know the context of like the people he's talking about, but there's he was talking about, he's reading like a news report and he says like yippee, John Roberts died or something like that. The yippee is like the thing, but then he reads it at first, yippee, he died, and then he reads it, oh no, it's just like a descriptor of him. And so that's like two different. He's done it a couple times in different ways, but
okay,
it's a difficult kind of pattern to match because it's very precise.
Yeah, it is. And the same with the poem, and it wraps it all up into a really tight, neat package, you know?
Mhm.
So that's interesting. I wonder what that does to us psychologically when we get it. We get that little package in the mail, you know? Yeah, and then we had to write one about coming out of long hibernation, right? Spring. And I thought, okay, time for a limerick because I was trying to get these done and I was going for the short and sweet things. There once was a farm girl in BC who woke up one morning to see early sunrise so bold it never gets old. A coffee, a book, and just me. Yeah. So those are my latest.
They're great.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never been disciplined to sit down with a specific pattern, so I need to start
I
doing
was
that.
I was never either. And actually, I think the first time I actually did that was when Aaron posted that first, like that one that we were just talking about. And, you know, I'm such a, I wouldn't call myself an anarchist, but I'm just like anti-establishment. maybe. um, that I, you know, immediately just like, I'm not playing by the rules, you know. And then I thought, no, let's just do this. Let's see what happens. What is it going to do to me, you know, if I try to stay within coloring within the lines, you know?
Mhm.
And I found it to be actually very fruitful and very productive. It was really, really good. It was a good challenge. Yeah.
I think I have a poem that actually lands up interesting with that
Cool.
I wrote this last week. I paint in figures whose outlines are left for me, filling in each place where color ought to be. I love my little pictures on the fridge all this time. Oh, what a simple act of charity that God calls them mine.
Mm. I love that. Can you read it one more time?
I paint in figures whose outlines are left for me, filling in each place where color ought to be. I love my little pictures on the fridge all this time. Oh, what a simple act of charity that God calls them mine.
Mm. That's awesome. See, like Emily Dickinson has this whole collection of poetry that she wrote on napkins. Because she's just such a, you know, I can almost relate because I mean I'm not calling myself Emily Dickinson, believe me, but I can relate in the sense that, you know, I'll be out there, like I was vacuuming the other day, and what did I write? Where did it go now? Thought I put it in here, but maybe I didn't. Here, I was vacuuming, and I had left a message because my son's wife went back to work and she weaned her little baby, her 1-year-old, and something else in one of my kids. We have this family chat, you know, happened to new, you know, I don't remember what. And I just wrote, oh, a time of new beginnings. How wonderful spring is here. Right. And then I went and I'm vacuuming and all of a sudden this poem just boom. Right.
Mhm.
So I wrote, a time of new beginnings. Do we think it's only chance? Or could it be a holy nod, a father's loving glance upon his little children, the ones he loves so dear? He reads his stories all year long to those with eyes and ears. And that's what, you know, that's what Emily's napkin collection was. You know, it was her doing something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, scribble that down. And the amazing thing about Emily Dickinson was that some of these poems that she wrote were 4 lines long, and they were just like, you know.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with her poetry?
A little bit. I know of, there's the, what was it? Telling truth at a slant.
Oh yeah.
Kale did a sharing of that one a while back.
It's one of my favorites.
It's a great one.
Tell the truth and tell it slant. Yeah. And that's what, you know, like she did that. That's why she could tell you to do it, because she knew what it was, and she knew what it did. And it's basically, she's talking about being explicit or implicit, right? But this is a really, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say Emily Dickinson also, like, my dad has never told me the details of this, but he had a horrible experience with an Emily Dickinson poem. Like, he had read it, and it's hard to not just use more like spiritual words for it, but almost like put a curse on him for a long time. Yeah, and I think he misread it, because he went back to it and he was like, that's not what that poem said, but it kind of shook something in him, and it impacted him heavily for like several years.
Wow.
Like a decade or more. Just
was it a positive impact or negative impact?
It was a very negative impact.
Wow. And he misread it.
I think so. He says that he read the end, and the end resolved whatever the problem was, but I don't think he made it to the end. He read halfway through, and he got caught. And so that's not against Emily Dickinson, but that's more of just the power of poetry more than anything. Exactly. You can have a very significant influence.
I mean, we might call it negative, but maybe it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, it evoked something within him no matter what. Like that thing I don't think was new. It was probably already there that he was struggling with. But
well, I know, like I mentioned last couple of times ago or whatever, that I took out this Robert Frost book when I was in grade 1, and I read the poem about two roads diverged in the middle of a wood, and
True.
What are your children reading? And I kind of related immediately to that, taking the road less traveled by, right? And then it just kind of became a mantra. Every time I came to a crossroads in my life, that's what I did. I took the one less traveled by. And that's made all the difference, honestly, like that poem says, right? Although I've read recently that what we think that means is not what he meant when he wrote it. But as George MacDonald says, your meaning might be superior to mine. Okay, so this is an Emily Dickinson that I really love. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, a sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Like, she's just amazing. And then here's the one that you mentioned. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. Too bright for our infirm delight, the truth's superb surprise. As lightning to the children eased with explanation kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind.
I was inspired by that one to write a poem, and then I had a follow-up, so I might read those two together, because I've been told those two are a good pair
together.
If you tell a lie, tell it straight, free of deviance and diversion. Let it flash like a blade to the eyes. If it does not even graze the cornea, at least it will catch the sun and throw it to thine advantage. And then...
Well, I want you to read that one more time. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
If you tell a lie, tell it straight, free of deviance and diversion. Let it flash like a blade to the eyes. If it does not even graze the cornea, at least it will catch the sun and throw it to thine advantage.
Hmm.
And then the second one is, lies sit against the eye, ever so twisting the light, turning red to blue and laughter into mocking, until your sight is no longer yours and the cancer is terminal.
Hmm. That's a sad one. Yeah.
Not a very helpful one.
We might have to wipe that away with hope is the thing with feathers. there's a rule when you're training horses that if you have to be forceful in any way, sometimes that means a little smack with the rope, you know. And it's like not beating my horse, like believe me. Even in natural horsemanship, you have to, because horses can really be dangerous, right? Yeah. But once you've done that, you have to rub it away. Literally, like you have to go on the spot and rub it away.
Mm-hmm.
And it matters, actually. If you don't rub it away, then there's a moment of unforgiveness there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I was actually thinking about slant and straight because I've worked with horses. There's so many analogies to communication. Because we have two forms of communication. We've got explicit communication. We've got implicit communication. You could say we've got propositional communication. We've got body language, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a really great conversation with Jonathan Demure, and we touched on some of this stuff. But when you approach a horse, because horses are prey animals and their instinct is fight or flight, right? So their first, like this is especially true of horses. Their first thing to do is take off. Like they're built for speed, and they can turn on a dime and be gone. But they're also at the top of the food chain. Like a lot of large predators won't attempt a horse because they can fight pretty good, right? And but because they're prey animals, they walk in a zigzag pattern. All prey animals move. I mean, not every step they take is in a zigzag pattern, but if they're approaching something like water, for example, they approach it at an angle. So at a slant, literally, right? And they move in like that because their eyes are at the sides of their heads. And if they do that, they can see everywhere. If there's a predator waiting at the watering hole for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're working with horses, you actually have to approach them at that angle. Otherwise, you're acting like a predator, because predators move in straight lines. They move directly. Their eyes are in the front of their head. So when they're moving at a slant, they can't see what's over. They don't have peripheral vision like a prey animal does, right? Not as much anyway. And so yeah, and this is just a really interesting phenomenon, because it applies to so many things. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard me read the Friedrich Hundertwasser quote on straight lines.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I'm going to read it to you because it's amazing. If you keep in mind what I just said, straight lines are predatory. Okay, in the animal kingdom, and here's another thing to remember: we are both prey and predator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Friedrich Hundertwasser, I'll show you something here. He was an architect in Germany, but he was also an artist, and he built buildings that had no straight lines. So there's one town in Germany actually that has quite a large number. I can't remember the name of it, of his buildings, and they look like almost Dr. Seussy,
Mhm.
you know, like they're really like wonky. And this is some of his art, is what
Hmm.
his art looks like. There's the man himself. Whoops. There he is. So that and yeah, I'll see if I can find a picture of one of his buildings, because they're just amazing. Here's another painting. Whoops.
Hmm.
This will just make what he says here next all the more interesting. What do we got here? I don't know if you can see these. Okay, here's an apartment building that he, whoops,
Oh.
an apartment
Okay.
building built,
Hmm.
right? And there's an interior where this StreamYard is there's an interior, like a courtyard.
Mhm.
I think it's that same building. But anyway,
Wow.
it's just I first heard of him through listening to a McGilchrist
Oh.
McGilchrist lecture. I think it's the Ralston College one on the coincidence of opposites, which I highly recommend. And it was Ian McGilchrist that quoted part of this quote that I'm going to read. And hi, Kezzy. Cool cats. So here's the quote. In 1953, I realized that the straight line leads to the downfall of mankind. But the straight line has become an absolute tyranny. The straight line is something cowardly, drawn with a rule, without thought or feeling. It is a line which does not exist in nature. And that the line, sorry, and that line is the rotten foundation of our doomed civilization. Even if there are certain places where it is recognized that this line is rapidly leading to perdition, its course continues to be plotted. The straight line is godless and immoral. The straight line is the only uncreative line, the only line which does not suit man as the image of God. The straight line is the forbidden fruit. The straight line is the curse of our civilization. Any design undertaken with the straight line will be stillborn. Today we are witnessing the triumph of rationalist know-how, and yet, at the same time, we find ourselves confronted with emptiness, an ascetic void, desert of uniformity, criminal sterility, loss of creative power. Even creativity is prefabricated. We have become impotent. We are no longer able to create. That is our real illiteracy.
Hmm. I made interesting connections in my mind.
Well,
There's
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I want to hear.
One is I've been doing more and more jigsaw puzzles lately.
Mm,
There's a certain element of that, of it's a very it's an activity that forces you to pay attention to very small details,
mhm.
and it's not very efficient. It's
Efficient
very
as in what? Efficient
um,
with your time?
you're not doing anything with it. Like, you're not
It's contemplative, actually.
it is very contemplative,
Yeah.
but you're not like there's not like a destination you're trying to reach. You're trying to finish the puzzle, and then maybe you start a new one. Like, that's kind of the time.
It is really one of the largest forms of embodying, actually, in my opinion. I have lots of thoughts on the jigsaw puzzle. Just
Yeah,
so happens.
I've been slowly falling in love with it lately. But it reminded me also of this quote from there's a podcast between Tammy Peterson and Bishop Robert Barron,
Mhm.
and he brings up, I'm gonna butcher it, whatever the way he said it, but the way that it sticks in my mind is that often the most, what does he say? The most useless things are the most meaningful. And
Mhm.
talking about prayer as useless, as in it's not to bring about a certain outcome. You're not praying to just, I don't know, make something happen. It is a sacrificial act that you're giving your time to God, not with the expectation that something will come from it. You're going to become richer, or you're learning a new language, and that's kind of the definition, I think, of the curved line. It's not the way that's directly through the garden or to work, but it's the way that it's the scenic route. It goes
Mhm.
around, and you're going to lose time in doing that, but you're going to get something that's maybe beyond measurement through it.
Yeah. I mean, prayer is as useless as a conversation is.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
But what is not useless about both of those things? What is not useless about both of those things is that we are coming into communion with one another, with God,
Mhm.
and we're being transformed by them, both of them.
Mhm.
Right? Like to me, there's nothing more powerful than that. Like those are the most important things, but on the surface, it looks useless. And the other thing I love about the jigsaw puzzle is that two pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that fit together are total opposites. If you
Mhm.
took two pieces that look like each other, they won't fit. Right?
Mhm.
You have to find the opposite of the one you're looking of the spot you're looking for. You've got to find its opposite.
Mhm.
And when you put its opposite with it, it fills out the picture. And then there's a lesson there that is just like fathoms deep, right?
Mhm.
But like I about that straight line thing, I wrote a bunch of notes on it because I don't know, I just had so many thoughts about it. And are you familiar with the YouTube channel Eternalized?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, he's a Jungian psychoanalyst, and he writes once a month he writes an essay, and then he just basically goes through the essay he reads the essay on his YouTube channel, but he also has like the transcript on his website.
Mhm.
And here's a couple of his quotes from the transcript of one of his I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, he writes, this is in connection with the straight lines quote from Hundertwasser that I just read. The self is the archetype of wholeness, or what Jung calls a God image. Numbers are the structural characteristics of the self symbol, and as such are crucial for individuation, the lifelong path towards psychic wholeness. It is not a linear process, but rather a circular one, which works through a circumambulation of the self. That was one. And then the other quote I have here from him: it is generally believed that numbers were invented by man and are therefore nothing but concepts of quantities containing nothing that was not previously put into them by the human intellect. But for Jung, it is equally possible that numbers were found or discovered. In that case, they are not only concepts, but something more. Autonomous entities, which not only contain quantity, but also certain qualities. Numbers have life. They are not just symbols on paper. As archetypes, numbers have the quality of being pre-existent to consciousness, and hence of conditioning it rather than being conditioned by it. They are discovered inasmuch as one did not know of their unconscious autonomous existence, and they are invented or devised insofar as they are brought into human consciousness, with their presence being inferred from similar representational structures. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. Yeah, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Random thoughts.
That's good.
Another thing about straight lines, and are you familiar with Temple Grandin?
No.
Okay, well, she's an amazing woman. There's a movie about her life with, what's the actress's name? Blonde. She starred in a series that was about the CIA.
Ooh,
Oh, what's her name? Anyways,
sure.
if anybody knows who I'm talking about, she starred as Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin was severely autistic, like nonverbal and all that stuff. But she was born in the 50s, I think. She's in her late 70s now. And nobody knew what autism was at the time. No, it wasn't Cate Blanchett. It was that blonde girl. And she played some kind of CIA agent who had bipolar disorder. This is a different series, not when she was Temple. But anyway, and Temple Grandin's mother just totally ignored the fact that she was autistic and just pushed her, and not in a cruel way, but just really encouraged her to, go out there and do stuff. She ended up going to college and getting a degree, and she specialized in agriculture and especially in the design of slaughterhouses because she understood animals.
Mm-hmm.
And what she saw with animals was that they never moved in straight lines, especially, well, cows, right? Because they're prey animals. And slaughterhouses had all these problems with animals bunching up in their chutes because they were in straight lines. Mm-hmm. And Temple Grandin literally redesigned these slaughterhouse. Claire Danes, that's who it is. Claire Danes plays Temple Grandin. Yeah. And so she redesigned these slaughterhouses with these curved paths, right? That keep the animals moving, and also they weren't like terrified, right?
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm literally just reading off of a bunch of random notes that I wrote. Sorry. Because straight lines fascinate me, especially because I have lots of animals and lots of prey animals, and I've done a lot of training with horses and stuff. So, yeah.
Fascinating.
And Peterson talks about aiming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking. My husband's yelling at the horses because they're hanging over the fence. They're basically saying, get your ass out here and feed us now. Yeah. What was he saying?
Peterson talks about seeing.
Yeah. Like looking straight ahead, aiming, all that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hang on a second. They might have done their job. See, my husband went out to feed them. Yeah, the horses are trolling. They're totally trolling. Even my dog, like my big male, he knows that we don't like it when they hang over the fence, because one of them is like a 2,000-pound Percheron draft horse, and if he leans hard enough on that fence, it's done. And as soon as he finds that out, we're done. Okay, because he's just going to break every fence he comes across. And so my male dog, as soon as he sees Merlin hanging over the fence, he's just like, he took on my husband's personality. He's protecting the fence. Hilarious.
Oh.
Yes, here we go. A straight line. I got Ian McGilchrist, but he expresses himself much deeper in his writing.
Oh,
Yeah. Does he talk about
read
it?
it.
Does he talk about it in the book, the straight line stuff that he read from Hundertwasser? I haven't read his books
Yeah, me
just
neither.
because they're so huge.
I picked up a copy from the library, but before I even could get a chance to get to it, the library was wanting it back, and so I was. It's like, well, it might be a while before I'm able to get to that.
Yeah. I have the Master and His Emissary on Audible, but
Oh.
which doesn't really give me an excuse to not have quote unquote read it by now.
I mean, there is so much, even in just this little corner of people making videos. I'm constantly running into stuff where like I wish I had time to just sit down and watch this, but I mean, even on Grail Country, there's the conversation with Brendan Graham Dempsey. I know I am gonna have to get to this morning, and I'm gonna find the
It's
time.
really
but
good.
It's gonna be a while.
Really good. I thought Nate was just like stellar, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah. Oh, I've
And
been
it's
reaching
not
out to
because-
him
Huh?
to talk. I've been reaching out to Brendan Graham Dempsey to talk. So
Okay.
hopefully I'll be able to kind of pick his brain a little bit on some of this stuff. So
I think you'll get
excited.
some insights actually watching the Grail Country conversation,
Mhm.
because Nate was very astute in his observations as they were talking, and he was hitting on some things that he was seeing missing
Mhm.
in the arguments, the holes, I guess, if you want to call them that. But they might not be holes. They're actually kind of more like other perspectives. Like,
Yeah.
Brendan Graham Dempsey's standing over here and Nate's standing over here, and they're looking at the same thing, right?
Mhm.
So, and I have a question.
Mhm.
Like, to be famous, do you have to include your middle name?
I think you have to separate yourself out. I think that's why.
I mean, Stephen King did it without his middle name.
It's true. I think
Most serial killers have a middle name, though. That's kind of weird.
that is. I think there's a certain level of like to make it more specific. So I think Brendan Dempsey is already a person, like who is famous, and so he was like, "Oh, I'll have to put my
I
name,
see.
middle name."
Is there another Brendan Dempsey?
I think so. I think that's what he mentioned in his first conversation with
I
Paul, but
see.
I might be wrong. And then serial killers, I think it helps because then you can specify, and it's like, no, not this John Wayne, but like that John Wayne,
Yeah.
or John Gacy. Like you have a neighbor named John Gacy, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
so, nope. That there's another person who's out
There's
there.
a different guy out there. What would really suck is if you had the same middle name as the serial killer.
Yes.
That would totally suck. Yeah. Well, do you want to hear? I've been reading through the Dark Interval at these little poetry sessions. I've been reading like the next letter in this book
Mhm.
and the next poem in this book.
Okay.
So, would you like to hear the next letter in the Dark Interval?
Sure.
Are you familiar with the Dark Interval? It's Letters on Loss, Grief, and Transformation by Rainer Maria Rilke.
I'm not familiar. I think
I've
that's
been reading.
that's the lesson today is that I'm not familiar with a lot of things.
Well, I read a couple already on these streams, and the last one I read was To Countess Lily Kennet's Minar. And so these are actual letters he wrote to people who suffered a loss.
Hmm.
And they were friends. Some of them are longer than others. Actually, this one's only one page, so that's cool. But because Rilke was who he was, his even his letters were like poetry. So this one is to Elizabeth Frein Schenk zu Schweinsberg. Schenk zu Schweinsberg, 1886 to 1955, was a German painter. Rilke met her during a stay on Capri in 1908 at the house of her aunt Feindrich, who died that same year. So he wrote this September 23rd, 1908. Dear Miss von Schenk, you've done a good deed to receive my unduly late letter without reproach, and as a matter of course, just in the manner I had hoped to write to you for quite some time. Although your insight and fairness are so generous that you do not consider me obligated to respond, my joy at receiving your letter this morning was so great that I would have to quarry 15 minutes out of even the most compressed time to compose a brief and grateful response, like a small and inconspicuous stone set into the ring of thoughts that have gathered around your news. It is quite after my own heart that you are sending good news from a steady inner core which seeks to preserve its position and strength in the face of everything. What you say about your honorable aunt's passing is in line with my own feeling, that we do not have to be sad for her. But as to the influence of the death of someone near on those he leaves behind, it has long seemed to me that this ought to be no other than a higher responsibility. Does the person who passes away not leave all the things he had begun in hundreds of ways to be continued by those who outlive him, if they had shared any kind of inner bond at all? In recent years, I had to live through so many close experiences of death, but not one person has been taken from me without my having found the tasks around me increased. The weight of this unexplained and perhaps greatest event, which only due to a misunderstanding has gained the reputation of being arbitrary and cruel, presses us, I think increasingly, more evenly and more deeply into life and places the utmost obligations on our slowly growing strengths. You have given such a sweet turn to my personal melancholy memories with the glimpse of the small childhood picture, which I have studied quite attentively. I'm sending it back to you already, since nobody likes to think of such objects to be out of the home and in transit. How much childhood is in that picture, and how everything is already settled there in the quiet, so indescribably lonely state of being a child, at the time when seated in an armchair, one cannot touch the floor, and with immense courage just keeps sitting there in that vast space which begins all around one and goes on and on. It is a very sweet and meaningful small picture. Thank you for letting me see it. Continue to believe that with your feeling and your work, you take part in what is greatest. The more strongly you cultivate this belief inside of you, the more it will give rise to reality and world. With the most loyal devotion, yours, Rainer Maria Rilke. What a guy. Yeah. Oh, hi, Upsicle. I love this from Rainer Maria Rilke. We are the bees of the invisible. We wildly collect the honey of the visible to store it in the great golden hive of the invisible. Illustrated by Neutrino.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a little.
Do you have another? You got another poem?
Sure. I'm sorry, mine are not always so happy, so I am working on it.
Totally get it. I've got hundreds of those. Just don't read them.
This one's not so bad, but it's on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in devils hiding in the cupboards and in the hearts of men, or subtle wickedness, a twisting of the pen. I don't believe in devils warping the way we think, puppeting dead men, returning them to drink. I don't believe in devils, in words hateful to my wife, in every deadly struggle, in all endless strife. I don't believe in devils, and they don't believe in me.
That's a nice little twist at the end there.
I always like the thing that is thrown around the TLC, you don't believe in God, but God believes in you. So I thought it was a fun twist.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it says more than you think. Okay, since you're reading dark poetry, so to speak, let me see if I can find one that I wrote. Where are we going here? Okay, here's one. This turned into a song, or I think I wrote it as a song, actually. I can't remember. Sometimes things come as poems and become songs, and sometimes they're songs. Right from the get-go. Okay. All of me cries out as you close the door. Our angry words lay all over the floor. And I want your heart that I shattered and tore. And how those words hurt you. And I'm sorry once more. How can two be one without the hurting? Close your eyes and let me mend you. There's so much ahead that we can't see. So please forgive me and let it be. There's a long and weary road that I can't go alone. Don't run ahead. Hold my hand and let's go home. Some of us are weak, some are strong, and some are waiting for the other to come along. How can two be one without the hurting? Let's stir up the desire. I know it's burning. So close your eyes and let me mend you. There's a few of those after 37 years of marriage, okay?
I understand.
There's happy ones too, but there's some of those in there.
Here I have another one.
All right.
This one has a title. I don't usually title my poems, but this one's titled The Atheist Prayer. A silver cord drawn tight, the hanging sword, scratching his head of chemo baldness. My beloved friend hangs above the void. A rope is slipping off his toe, and I have nothing to give. All the gold could not buy better medicine, a more skilled doctor, a way to send all his cancer into me. I know heaven is empty. There's no escape in the vastness of the cosmos. Screams can't even echo, but are unceremoniously muted. I wish I could be comforted. I wish I was a fool that could just trust in. God, I know you don't exist, but people say you care. Watch over my friend where I cannot follow. Hold him in your arms in a way I never could.
That's beautiful and sad. Okay, where's another one here? Here's another one. This was also a song. I see the kindness in your smile and flowers you have brought me home. I feel your innocence and it chills me to the bone. Can it be love that brings you this far? There is no time for you to waste. How far can you walk alone? How much pain can you taste? Well, I ain't got no answers. As you stretch out empty arms, yes, I fear that all your gestures of love will slowly tighten around my neck. The sun shines warm upon my head. I wish that's all that I would need. But life calls out so cruelly to save your words and do the deed. Oh, how I long to feel you close to me, to feel your body next to mine. Hold tight, never let me go. But would it only last one night? Well, I ain't got no answers as you stretch out empty arms. Yes, I fear that all your gestures of love will slowly tighten around my neck. Yeah. Like I said. Here's one. This is also a song. Some people go, and it's a long, hard road. Yeah, they feel the pain, and some just stay. Some people stand against the coming tide. Yeah, they stand alone, and some just go home. Standing here, I'm looking at a sea of heads, and there's so many questions. Maybe I'll just go to bed, but I can't stop wondering why it's said. Some people fall, not to get up again. In the mud they lie, and some just fly. Some people know, and like a burning light on a hilltop, shine, but some just try.
Well, I can do some lyrics as well.
Cool.
This is not a song I wrote. This is another song from from a band called Me Without You. And
Okay.
this is probably one of my favorite songs. Provisionally I, practically alive, mistook signs for signified, and so since I've often cried to run them off a cliff like gathering swine. Inside my wardrobe seem anchor bent, wondering whether we were something somewhat better than, or maybe just better able to pretend, and what better means to our inevitable end. You know, I don't know if I know, though some with certainty insist no certainty exists. Well, I'm certain of this. In the past 14 years, there's only one girl I've kissed. In the blistering heat of the Asbury Pier, we sat quiet as monks on the Ferris wheel, looking down at the water, down at the sea. I asked her, did it ever occur to you, a fantasy, where you pushed little kids from the tops of the ride? She shook her head no, and I said, oh, neither do I. And with my grandma's ring, I went down on one knee, and the subsequent catastrophe has since haunted me like a fiberglass ghost, asking of my inconveniently selective memory. Provisionally you mercifully withdrew all the bearing points we thought we knew. Days run, days set clock. Our calm is shot, one common shot. We sailed waywardly on, singing our midnight archer songs, until well past dawn. It's still dark in the deck of our boat, haphazardly blown. Broken bows, our aimless arrow words don't mean a thing to whether I think it's pretty obvious that there's no God, and there's definitely a God. I dreamt of the rocks at the Asbury Dunes, that you jumped from the top of the log flume, and they gathered like wolves on the boardwalk below. They're howling for answers no wolf could know. I charged at the wave with a glass in my hand. I was tossed like a ball at the bottle stand, and I landed beside your remains on the stones, where your cold fingers wrapped around my ankle bones. Maybe 10 feet away was a star, thousands of times the size of our sun, exploding like the I don't know why they did this, like the carny balloons you throw darts at. We slept until our chest was full of yarn we spun from Shetland wool, socks from where the Dorset grows, sheared and scoured hours before the rooster crows. The price of German silver fell through this huge thaler down the superstition well.
Wow. Who was that?
Me Without You.
Can you link it in the chat? The
Sure.
song, like
Yes.
a YouTube
The
link or
song's
something?
even better than my reading of it. Tried to match the cadence.
Songs are always better than the reading of them. Yeah, I don't think I have any other terrible poetry in here. I try to forget most of that stuff that I just read. Oh, I found two more.
That's it.
I have a little one. See a tiny frantic shadow, delicate upon the mist. You are never beneath the essence. Yet you cry and run with life like a diamond in an ugly ring. don't know why that struck me as funny, but I just had to laugh. Yeah.
Here's one. I don't know. I've been a big fan of G.K. Chesterton, so this is one of his.
Yeah. I haven't read much of his stuff, but
I haven't read too much of his poetry. I've run across it a little bit more recently. I know that's what he's known for, or what I think he identifies the most with is his own poetry. But I've always read his other works. But this one's called Cyclopean.
Cyclopean.
Yes.
Cyclopean.
Yes.
Cyclopean.
Cyclopean. Okay.
Like Cyclops, like.
Mhm.
Okay.
A mountainous and mystic brute, no rein can curb, no arrow shoot, upon whose doomed, deformed back I sweep the planet's scorching track. Old is the elf, and wise men say, his hair grows green as ours grows gray. He mocks the stars with myriad hands, high as that swinging forest stands. But though in pygmy wanderings dull, I scour the desert of his skull, I never find the face, eyes, teeth, lowering or laughing underneath. I met my foe in an empty dell, his face in the sun was naked hell. I thought, O silent bloody blow, no priest would curse, no crowd would know. Then cowered a daisy half concealed, watched for the flame of that poor field. And in that flower, and suddenly, earth opened on its one eye on me.
Mm. One more time. It's always easier for me to. The first time I'm hearing it, I'm like, I feel like I'm running across the landscape of something.
A mountainous and mystic brute, no rein can curb, no arrow shoot, upon whose doomed, deformed back I sweep the planet's scorching track. Old is the elf, and wise men say, his hair grows green as ours grows gray. He mocks the stars with myriad hands, high as that swinging forest stands. But though in pygmy wanderings dull, I scour the deserts of his skull, I never find the face, eyes, teeth, lowering or laughing underneath. I met my foe in empty dell, his face in the sun was naked hell. I thought, one silent bloody blow, no priest would curse, no crowd would know. Then cowered, a daisy half concealed, watched for the fame of that poor field. And in that flower, and suddenly, earth opened its one eye on me.
That's beautiful. I just went into the chat on my iPad, and for some reason, I don't see your link in.
Oh no!
But it's here.
Okay, so I will just repost it in that one.
I mean, do they not post?
Oh, they might not let me post the link.
Yeah. I mean, I see it. I see it here.
Does it show up in the chat again? Because I posted it again, but maybe it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's.
If you look up Vox's stream of the log flume, it should show up. I think YouTube doesn't like links.
Vox's dream of the log flume. Okay, that's the song, right?
That's the song. Yes.
Okay, we'll look for that. You put that in there.
I think so in comments it works. So if we come back to it later, we can post it.
Oh, in private chat. In private chat, you mean?
Oh no, in comments under the video when it's posted.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you could do that too.
But in the live, yeah.
YouTube's just weird.
I don't know why they have a problem with their own links though. That's the one that kind of confuses me. That doesn't make
sense to me either. It's like you'd think that people would be happy that other people were sharing their stuff. Okay, I'm going to read another one from the Duino Elegies. There's actually the sonnets to Orpheus in here too, so which I haven't read yet. So, but let's do this. I think I read this one last time. Yeah. So this is the third elegy. And I always have to get comfortable for these because let me make sure I didn't read this one already. No, I did not. How long is it? Let's make sure it's not like 7 pages long. No, it's not too long. It's not too long. Longer, but not too long. It is one thing to sing the beloved, another, alas, to invoke that hidden, guilty river god of the blood. Her young lover, whom she knows from far away, what does he know of? The Lord of Desire, who often, up from the depths of his solitude, even before she could soothe him, and as though she didn't exist, held up his head, dripping with the unknown, erect, and summoned the night to an endless uproar. Oh, the Neptune inside our blood, with his appalling trident. Oh, the dark wind from his breast out of that spiraled conch. Listen to the night as it makes itself hollow. O stars, isn't it from you that the lover's desire for the face of his beloved arises? Doesn't his secret insight into her pure features come from the pure constellations? Not you, his mother, alas, you were not the one who bent the arch of his eyebrows into such expectation. Not for you, girl so aware of him, not for your mouth did his lips curve themselves into a more fruitful expression. Do you really think that your gentle steps could have shaken him with such violence, you who move like the morning breeze? Yes, you did frighten his heart, but more ancient terrors plunged into him at the shock of that feeling. Call him, but you can't quite call him away from those dark companions. Of course, he wants to escape, and he does. Relieved, he nestles into your sheltering heart, takes hold, and begins himself. But did he ever begin himself, really? Mother, you made him small. It was you who started him. In your sight, he was new. Over his new eyes, you arched the friendly world and warded off the world that was alien, his own roots, and out into the powerful source. Wait, sorry, did I miss a page? I did. Crap. Mother, you made him small. It was you who started him. In your sight, he was new. Over his new eyes, you arched the friendly world and warded off the world that was alien. Ah, where are the years when you shielded him just by placing your slender form between him and the surging abyss? How much you hid from him then. The room that filled with suspicion at night, you made it harmless. And out of the refuge of your heart, you mixed a more human space in with his night space. And you set down the lamp, not in that darkness, but in your own nearer presence, and it glowed at him like a friend. There wasn't a creak that your smile could not explain, as though you had long known just when the floor would do that. And he listened and was soothed. So powerful was your presence as you tenderly stood by the bed. His fate, tall and cloaked, retreated behind the wardrobe, and his restless future, delayed for a while, adapted to the folds of the curtain. And he himself, as he lay there, relieved with the sweetness of the gentle world you made for him, dissolving beneath his drowsy eyelids into the foretaste of sleep, he seemed protected. But inside, who could ward off, who could divert the floods of origin inside him? Ah, there was no trace of caution in that sleeper. Sleeping, yes, but dreaming. But flushed with what fevers, how he threw himself in. All at once knew, trembling, how he was caught up and entangled in the spreading tendrils of inner event, already twined into patterns, into strangling undergrowth, prowling bestial shapes. How he submitted, loved his interior world, his interior wilderness, that primal forest inside him, where among decayed tree trunks his heart stood, light green, loved. Left it, went through his own roots and out, into the powerful source where his little birth had already been outlived. Loving, he waded down into more ancient blood, to ravines where horror lay, still glutted with his fathers. And every terror knew him, winked at him like an accomplice. Yes, atrocity smiled. Seldom had you smiled so tenderly, mother. How could he help loving what smiled at him? Even before he knew you, he had loved it, for already while you carried him inside you, it was dissolved in the water that makes the embryo weightless. No, we don't accomplish our love in a single year as the flowers do. An immemorial sap flows through our arms when we love. Dear girl, this that we loved inside us, not one who would someday appear, but seething multitudes, not just a single child, but also the fathers lying in our depths, like fallen mountains, also the dried up riverbeds of ancient mothers, also the whole soundless landscape under the clouded or clear sky of its destiny. All this, my dear, preceded you. And you yourself, how could you know what primordial time you stirred in your lover? What passions welled up inside him from departed beings? What women hated you there? How many dark, sinister men aroused in his young veins? Dead children reached out to touch you. Oh, gently, gently, let him see you performing with love some confident daily task. Lead him out close to the garden. Give him what outweighs the heaviest night. Restrain him. Wow. That last line just gave me like freaking goosebumps. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. My eyes already touch the sunny hill going far beyond the road I have begun. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. It has an inner light even from a distance, and changes us even if we do not reach it into something else, which hardly sensing it we already are. A gesture waves us on, answering our own wave, but what we feel is the wind in our faces. Beautiful. Rilke.
It looks like Sheepgoat is asking for what you were reading.
Oh, I was reading from Duino Elegies, and it was which one was it? The fourth. Nope. It was the third. Hang on, I'm coming. The third elegy. Michael Martin recommended these to me a long time ago, and I have a little funny story because I was like, okay, I really need to read Duino Elegies, and I was going to order this book, and then I'm on Amazon, right? I got it on my cart, and I'm ready to buy now, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm just going to go grab some other poetry books out for the first live stream that we were doing, and I found it in my. Forgot that I already bought it. I was like, woo, thank goodness. Otherwise I would have had two.
Anyway. I think I have several copies of some books in my library. So I try to find a way to give them away to people. Like, hey, you should read this.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, but at least they're not on my bookshelf. So
yeah. All right, were you going to read something, Noah?
Yeah, I'm gonna, because I feel like nobody knows about this band. I want to keep sharing their lyrics.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause they're one of my favorites. I think they're very applicable to kind of the conversations we have around here, but they I don't think anybody has heard of them. So
Okay.
I saw this this song is called C Minor, and I saw this actually performed live in one of the last times they performed in my state before they ended the band entirely. They're not performing anymore.
They're called Me Without You.
Hmm. All one word.
Yeah.
Me Without You.
Me Without You. All right. I found it and I'm sticking it in my list.
And they're interesting because they have just a variety of genres that they kind of jump between. They have like a more of like a folk album-ish thing.
Yeah.
Their earlier stuff is very like punk music, and then they kind of range everything in between there. So they've gone a long way. But this one was just it brought me to tears, and there's a line that hearing people sing around me, it was a very powerful moment. But this is the song, C Minor. Our house wrapped in disrepair, a small mouse peeked out from a hole beneath the stairs, nearby to where my dad sat in his favorite chair, thinking about the government and muttering a prayer. So I scattered some oats in hope she'd stay, and sat still to stop from scaring her away. But she hurried on her little way and scurried round my mind ever since, every day. Open wide my door, my Lord. Open wide my door to whatever makes me love you more. Open wide my door while there's still light to run towards. Open wide my door. Like water on the dry wood, equal parts misguided and misunderstood. But all the neighborhood watched a fire burn from where they stood, and the smoke said, we're not half as bad as God is good. Still there's a whisper in my ear, the voice of loneliness and fear. And I say, devil, disappear. I'm still technically a virgin after 27 years, which never bothered me before. What's maybe 50 more? Open wide my door, my Lord. Open wide my door to whatever makes me love you more. Open wide my door while there's still light to run towards. Open wide my door. She came back for the oats, but she brought along a friend. It never ends. The harder the rain, the lower the flowers in the garden bend. It never ends. I'd rather never talk again than to continue to pretend that this never ends. It never ends. It never ends. It never ends. It never ends.
Mm.
But to hear, because they're not a Christian band, they're the lead singer is his mom is grew up Jewish. His father grew up Christian. They both converted to Islam, and so he has this kind of wide mess of just different ideas that are all flowing through his childhood, and so he's writing out of all of that, and so it's just fascinating. But in that concert, just to hear people all around me in Seattle, where, like, you know, most people are not religious by any means or would categorize themselves that way, and just all hear them singing these words, open wide my door, my Lord, open wide my door to whatever makes me love you more.
Yeah.
And just this unison, I don't know, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a good prayer. Although there, you know, what comes to my mind is Jesus saying, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man opens, I will come in and sup with him, right?
Yeah.
And there's kind of a little bit of a contrast there to open my door, right? No, you open the door.
Yeah.
But maybe open my door is opening the door, like, you know, at the same time.
It's definitely an invitation of some sort.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's an opening. It's an opening. I guess that's more than we can wish for in some cases.
Maybe I can do
Yeah.
one more of this, and then I can stop with this end.
With the band?
Oh yeah, just I'll stop sharing specifically lyrics from their songs.
Yeah.
but there's one more called Mexican War Streets. I can do that real fast. Though by the path I led, the passing of time and the pouring of tea are all I've lately seen, O my soul. Until the temporal bridge be burned, until our anchor stocks hold firm, where the hands of clocks don't turn, O my soul. May our lips remain discreet, while your traps are beneath our feet, but how long before our tails are caught by our quote free end quote thought? Sugar in the cane, candles low, kettle on the flame for the teapot, no. I tremble at the thought. Sugar in the cane, candles low, Southside flats where the upscale go. I tremble at the thought. I tremble at the thought. On the streets of Mexican wars, I battle with the memory of a first fight. In our contemptible youth, I quoted white knights, thinking I'd get rid of you, and waited with a stone in my hand, but you were quite right. Nature had another plan. Nature had another plan. Some other surrogate self to live in the sediment of so many someone else's, innumerable lives, and you were right. It's not a person who dies, but the world dies inside us. Sugar in the cane, and the candles are low, on the West End Bridge looking down at the Ohio. I tremble at the thought of what's often referred to as karma. The sugar and the candles are gone. You panic like a mouse when the lights go on. I admit it warms my heart to watch a world fall apart. The colorful hills talked me down from the bridge. To heck with all the drugs my parents did. I'd like to meet whoever said the words we print in red, with a coin in my teeth on Mexican war streets. Rivers of sadness and mutual need in the loud desperation of social routine. Rock of salvation, lightly esteemed. Distance is surging like oceans between us. Suspended by strings over rotating wheels, via magnets and springs of Carnegie steel. Representation, our fashionable theme, and unfathomably powerful forces like oceans between us. We have all the signs we need, we decide not to read. My will, and those who perceive the relation between, is listening beside me. At night, like some seismic machine, while the mental vibrations of petrified men are etched in translation by pendulum pens, and the movement of underground plates do nothing to bridge or exacerbate the oceans between us.
Beautiful writing, eh?
Yeah.
Is it all written by the same person?
Yeah, it's all written by their lead singer. His
Okay.
name is Aaron Weiss. And he is now a professor at College of Idaho of anthropology. And that's what he does now.
Anthropology.
I think he was doing a lot of Islamic studies for a while, and so I think he just ended up in anthropology. I just found him randomly one day online.
Are you in an estuary group, Noah?
I'm starting one, so there's
cool.
going to be one in Bellingham. So, Slack, if you have information, like feel free to DM me and I can get in contact. I think it's going to start in August. Yeah. So
Awesome, he says. Yeah. Well, I thought I'd read some more Robert Frost, and I want to read some ones that I've never read, just because, but I don't want them to be hugely long. Oh, what's this here? This is kind of cool. Yeah. An Empty Threat by Robert Frost. I stay, but it isn't as if there wasn't always Hudson's Bay and the fur trade, a small skiff and a paddle blade. I can just see my tent pegged and me on the floor, cross-legged, and a trapper looking in at the door with furs to sell. His name's Joe, alias John. And between what he doesn't know and won't tell about where Henry Hudson's gone I can't say he's much help, but we get on. The seal yelp on an ice cake. It's not men by some mistake? No, there's not a soul for a windbreak between me and the North Pole, except always John Joe, my French Indian Eskimo. And he's off setting traps, in one himself perhaps. Give a head shake over so much bay thrown away in snow and mist that doesn't exist. I was going to say, for God, man, or beast's sake, yet does perhaps for all three. Don't ask Joe, what is it to him? It's sometimes dim what it is to me, unless it be. It's the old captain's dark fate who failed to find or force a strait in its 2,000-mile coast, and his crew left him where he failed, and nothing came of all he sailed. It's to say, you and I, to such a ghost, you and I, off here with the dead race of the great Alk, and better defeat almost, if seen clear, than life's victories of doubt that need endless talk to make them out. My goodness, I've got birds hitting my window here. Dang it. We've got, every year, crown sparrows come through. They're heading actually to the Arctic. Oh, good, it's going to be okay. My cat would like to eat it. But they come in such large numbers, and then they're just like, I'll go up to the chicken coop and there'll be like 100 of them in my coop, in it. And they all fly to the window, like little moths. They're just everywhere, and they're constantly hitting our windows of our house. It's just terrible.
Oh.
Anyway, I interrupted my own poem. I mean, I'm finished it. It's done. That one is done. Okay, so I've got like, how many pages here? I've got 517 pages. Pick a number.
Wow.
And I'll read the poem. We'll do a a bingo or a lottery or a fortune telling session.
We'll do 57.
57. Does 75 work? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, 57's in the middle of a very long, wait, let me see how long it is. Long one. Pick a different number.
Oh, Ups says 333.
333. Okay, here we go. 333. 331. All right, here we go. Happiness makes up in height for what it lacks in length. Upcycle. That's the name of this poem. And it's nice and short. Oh, stormy, stormy world, the days you were not swirled around with mist and cloud, or wrapped as in a shroud, and the sun's brilliant ball was not in part or all obscured from mortal view, were days so very few, I can but wonder whence I get the lasting sense of so much warmth and light. If my mistrust is right, it may be altogether from one day's perfect weather, when starting clear at dawn, the day swept clearly on to finish clear at eve. I verily believe my fair impression may be all from that one day, no shadow crossed but ours, as through its blazing flowers we went from house to wood for change of solitude. And that was titled Happiness Makes Up in Height for What It Lacks in Length. Yeah.
I have a little one here. Another G.K. Chesterton titled The Donkey.
Oh, yeah. I think you read this one once.
Have I read this one once? Oh, no.
I don't know, or maybe I've heard of it. Just go ahead.
Okay. When fishes flew and forests walked and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody. on all four-footed things, the tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will. Starve, scourge, deride me, I am dumb. I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour. One far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears and palms before my feet.
I haven't heard that one. That was good. All right, I'm going to do this again. I've got a book of Yeats, and it's selected. The poems are selected by Seamus Haney in this book, and I've got how many pages? I've got 129 pages, folks.
129.
What number do you want?
57.
Again? Not 75?
If it works for one, then if it doesn't work for one, it might work for the other.
57.
I just realized Ups did the Grim Grizz thing. You know, you do the 33 minutes and 30 seconds to see
I don't
what's
know.
going on.
This is Ego Dominus Tus, and it is I don't understand what these are. Hic, and then ill. And I don't know what hic and ill stand for. Does anybody know? HIC period and ILLE period? It's like a dialogue or something. But I'm just so uneducated that because I would read it.
Sounds
but
Latin, but that's about as far as I can go.
Can you see this side? Beep, 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 beep. Can you see the text? Oops. What do those little side things?
Yeah, it looks like a dialogue the way it's formatted.
It does look like a dialogue, but I don't know what the hic and ill are.
Yeah.
Okay, pick another number.
We'll go 33. Well,
Oh, we're 33. Okay. That's how old Jesus was. Okay, here we go. Upon a house shaken by the land agitation. How should the world be luckier if this house, where passion and precision have been one time out of mind, became too ruinous to breathe the lidless eye that loves the sun? And the sweet laughing eagle thoughts that grow where wings have memories of wings, and all that comes of the best knit to the best. Although mean roof trees were the sturdier for its fall, how should their luck run high enough to reach the gifts that govern men? After these, to gradual time's last gift, a written speech, wrought of high laughter, loveliness, and ease. Okay, I did a really crappy job. I'm going to read it one more time. How should the world be luckier if this house, where passion and precision have been one time out of mind, became too ruinous to breathe the lidless eye that loves the sun? And the sweet laughing eagle thoughts that grow where wings have memories of wings, and all that comes of the best knit to the best? Although mean roof trees were the sturdier for its fall, how should their luck run high enough to reach the gifts that govern men, and after these to gradual time's last gift, a written speech, wrought of high laughter, loveliness, and ease? The whole poem is a question. It's hard to read questions.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a long question.
It's 3 questions. That's what it is. You've got a really short one, a 4-liner. Okay, these are always they're like nuclear bombs. We'll see how this one does. The coming of wisdom with time. Though leaves are many, the root is one. Through all the lying days of my youth, I swayed my leaves and flowers in the sun. Now I may wither into the truth. As promised. Little nuclear bomb. Well, we just hit the 2-hour mark, Noah. And have you got another one to share?
Sure, I can share another one.
My ginger cat also closes her eyes as Sherry narrates these poems. That's funny.
I'm glad I'm in good company. In my father's house, rule was strict. Spotless tables and mirror spoons, pictures square and in line. With years came trust. I was given room to change, frames dusted and paintings askew, tables wiped but floors unmopped. Entropy's fingers peeked through the grime, spreading soot, outlining a portal. Day by day, creeping in, a hand, an arm, an eye. The old law lost, and just empty ritual remains.
Mm.
Save me from this wasteland, my mistake. Am I too far gone? Shadow wraps me in thick chains. Would I know, like my lost father, how he defeated the darkness? How he found a heart of light in a whale's stomach?
That was one you wrote?
Mhm.
Wow. Nice. Okay, well, I'm going to bring this to a close, unfortunately, because I have to go do my chores still. But I'm going to close it, and I've read this poem before, but I'm going to read it again because it's a great way to close out a Saturday. Here it is. It's called Joy by Emile Verheeren. O splendid, spacious day, irradiate with flaming dawns, when earth shows yet more fair her ardent beauty, proud, without alloy. And wakening life breathes out her perfume rare so potently that all intoxicate, our ravished being rushes upon joy. Be thanked, mine eyes, that now ye still shine clear beneath my furrowed brow to see afar the light vibrating there. And you, my hands, that in the sun yet thrill, and you, my fingers, that glow golden still, among the golden fruit upon the wall where hollyhocks stand tall. Be thanked, my body, that thyself dost bear yet firm and swift, and quivering to the touch of the quick breezes or of winds profound. And you, straight frame, and lungs outbreathing wide, along the shore or on the mountainside, the sharp and radiant air that bathes and grips the mighty worlds around. O festal mornings, calm in loveliness, rose whose pure face the dewdrops all caress, birds flying towards us like some presage white, gardens of somber shade or frailest light. What time the ample summer warms the glade. I love you, roads, by which came hither late she who held hidden in her hands my fate. I love you, distant marshes, woods austere, and to its depths I love the earth, where here, beneath my feet, my dead are to rest are laid. So I exist in all that doth surround and penetrate me. All this grassy ground, these hidden paths, and many a copse of beach, clear water that no clouding shadows reach, you have become to me myself, because you are my memory. In you my life, prolonged forever seems. I shape, I am all that has filled my dreams. In that horizon vast that dazzles me, trees shimmering with gold, my pride are ye. And like the knots upon your trunk, my will strengthens my power to sane, staunch labor still. Rose of the pearl-hued gardens, when you kiss my brow, a touch of living flame it is. To me all seems one thrill of ardor, beauty, wild caress. And I, in this world drunkenness, so multiply myself in all that gleams on dazzled eyes that my heart, fainting, vents itself in cries. O leaps of fervor, strong, profound, and sweet, as though some great wings swept thee off thy feet, if thou hast felt them upward hearing thee toward infinity, complain not, man, even in the evil day. Whatever disaster takes thee for her prey, thou to thyself shalt say that once, for one short instant all supreme, which time may not destroy, thou yet hast tasted with quick beating heart, sweet, formidable joy. And that thy soul, beguiling thee to set as in a dream, hath fused thy very being's inmost part with the unanimous great founts of power, and that day supreme, that single hour, hath made a god of thee. That's one of my very favorite poems.
Wow. What a way to end it.
Right? I hope it all filled everyone with a really big breath of joy. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And we'll see what we got up our sleeve for next Saturday. I'm all down for more of these, but I don't know what Nate has planned. Thanks, Noah, for joining.
Thank you for having me. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah. Bye.